Oh, hello. Good afternoon. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this edition of The Core, where we are getting to the root of it. My name is Melisha Griffin, and I'm going to be coming to you daily with these messages because there is something that we have to touch, we have to mend in order for us to be successful in healing and helping others navigate healing as well. And so, our topic tonight is about the gospel. Is the gospel setting people free? And if it's not setting free, why or why not? I want to talk to you about that today. This can be a little bit of a controversial topic, but I named it this way for a reason. Kaden, take her outside. I named it this way for a reason. So let's start off with what the core. Let's start off by what the core is. The core of something is the innermost place of something, or it is the foundational part of something, okay? And in this case, the core that we are talking about is going to be trauma. And what I'm going to be coming to you daily with, we're going to be talking about the core of trauma. And the core of trauma, or the foundation of trauma, is always going to be a wound. And so we have to be able to address the wounds in this life, in our time together, and the things that we have experienced in order for us to navigate healing properly. Because a lot of times what happens is we start navigating healing from the stance of the symptom. We start navigating healing from the stance of what we feel we should do in that moment, and we tackle the emotional component, and we try to tackle the behavioral component, and we miss the entire fact that we need to be tapped into the root of it, which is the foundation. And that means we have to be able to get into those interwoven pieces of what we have tried to neglect. Okay. And so, how do we as believers incorporate the gospel in helping people heal deep wounds? That is the question. Because oftentimes we tell people that, hey, Jesus wants you to be free. Hey, we want to help you be free. Hey, let us walk you through the steps of freedom. Hey, let me show you how you could be free from that. Hey, you don't have to be bound by this. We use these words all the time. And what we forget is, what are we really helping them be free from? And what are we helping them to be free for? Those are the things that we have to address when we're navigating this space with people who we call lukewarm, but really people who are on the fence because of what they've been shown. The demonstration from the body of Christ, the demonstration from the people of God, the demonstration from the church has not been that well in helping people navigate these deep wounds. And a lot of times when we see people who are operating out of a wounded place, we want to clean them up, we want to tidy them up, but we don't want to get to the inner workings of why they are the way they are. Okay. And so a lot of times we'll say, hey, well, we want you to be free from perversion. We want you to be free from sin. We want you to be free from addiction. We want you to be free from lust. We want you to be free from greed. All these things that we start touting out. But what you have to understand is these things are symptoms. That means that they are outward expressions of something that's really going on. So if you have a cold, then the symptom of a cold could be a cough, it could be a sneeze, it could be a runny nose, it could be watery eyes, it could be a fever, some extremes. So if you can have a mild cold where you just cough, you can have cough and you can lose your senses, or you can have a more extreme form of a cold where you actually have a fever and you can't get out of the bed, or you can have an even more advanced form of a cold, which can be the flu. And so, the symptoms of the flu are a lot more extreme. So we understand that we may have a cold, I may have a cold, and you may have a cold, but our symptoms from that illness may be different. And this is how trauma works. I might have a trauma and you may have a trauma, but our symptoms may be different. So when we're talking about addiction, and when we're talking about lust, and when we're talking about greed and all these things, these are symptoms of a traumatic experience. And like I talked about early, the only way to deal with the traumatic experience is to get to the core of it, which is the wound. So when we start talking to people about, hey, I want you to be free from this addiction, or I want you to be free from this greed, or I want you to be free from this perversion, we are telling them, hey, I want to take you away from the thing that's comforting you. I want to take you away from the thing that's making you feel safe. I want to take you away from the thing that's been working for you. Because while we know that it's not working in the long term, they don't recognize that because they are getting a short term satisfaction to numb a place that we have no idea of how much that place is really hurting them. So when we come to them saying, hey, I want to free you from this, the reason why there's resistance met is because they're saying, wait a minute, you want to free me from the thing that gives me peace? You want to free me from the things that give me solace? You want to free me from the thing that's been helping me? I just met you and now you're coming to me and you're talking about Jesus. I see all these people talking about Jesus, but they look one way and they act another. And so we have to take accountability for our role as believers and how we have been portraying the gospel to people, and understand that it's not that the gospel can't heal. Yes, it does. It's not that Jesus can't heal. Yes, he does. But we have to be accountable as the body of Christ on how we are demonstrating him to people who are wounded. Because when we demonstrate him in a manner and people are looking at what works, this is why I'm talking about these symptoms such as addiction or greed or these things. Lust or perversion, all these symptoms. The reason why is because the symptom is a tangible feeling for them that helps them say, listen, I can go do this and I'm going to feel better for a moment, right? And so when you as a believer, you're going to them and you're telling them, hey, I'm going to help you with this wound, I'm going to help you with this thing you're going through, but they see your life totally different than what you're saying, then you make it very difficult for them to want to come into the fold. Because now I know this works for me. Like, I know if I go smoke that thing, that's going to give me what I need. I know if I go spend that money and go shopping, that's going to give me what I need. I know if I go lay down with that person, that's going to give me what I need for the moment. And so you have to get into the space of the wound for people to understand how they can be free from that. So the language has to change. I'm not freeing you from your addiction. That's not my responsibility. But what I can say to you is that I want to free you from the neglect you felt from your parents. I want to free you from the father that wasn't there. I want to free you from the mother who was too harsh. I want to free you from the aunt or uncle who was touching you in the dark. I want to free you from the people in school who rejected you or talked about you. I want to free you from the people who said that you were never going to be anything or you weren't going to make it. I want to free you from your wound. I don't want to free you from your symptom. Because the truth be told, we can't free anyone from the symptom. The symptom, trying to free someone from a symptom is behavior modification. Trying to free someone from a symptom is not getting to the place where God needs to get in. And God chose you and I and all of us to minister the gospel, to administer to people what they need. And if we are not a proper representation of that, people will never get what they need. So we have to take accountability for our role in this. So it's not that the gospel isn't setting people free, because it can't. But when we place limitations on God by our own actions and what we demonstrate to the people, we limit God to the people who need to access him. And then when there's that limitation for them, now they're going to resort back to what works, placing them further into bondage. So, how do you tell someone that you want to free them from the thing that makes them feel safe or makes them feel comfortable or makes them feel in control? Because a lot of the symptoms, listen, I know that if I have a problem with, just say I have a problem with gluttony, okay, and I'm feeling sad today, I know I can go eat some food and it's going to comfort me in the moment. That food's going to, my taste buds are going to be activated, my mind's going to be activated. I'm going to eat this food, I'm going to watch this TV show, I'm going to check out of the world for this time, and I'm going to enjoy the thing that makes me feel satisfied in this moment. So yes, I might know I'm dealing with gluttony, but the guilt of this alone, you telling me you're going to free me from this, and you're not addressing the wound, the guilt alone turns people away. It sends them back spiraling into the very thing that has caused them to be comforted. And so while you might see gluttony or a eating disorder or an addiction, it could very well be that this person learned how to cope this way in their room in the dark when they were alone, because they had no one to talk to, when they felt afraid, when they felt all of these things going on around them. Their safe place was hiding in a dark place and eating food. And now they have grown up and that thing grew up with them. So when you say, I want to take away that food from you, you're saying, I want to take away your safe place. So we have to change our language and how we're speaking to people. And we have to then say, well, you know what, God? Because right now he's pouring out his spirit on all flesh. God, help me to explain this to this person. I know what I see, but God can give you wisdom. God can give you discernment, and God can give you language to how to speak to people. So while I see a dark room, so maybe something happened to them in the dark. So open up the conversation that way. Well, have you ever struggled with darkness? Or do you struggle at nighttime? Do you have trouble sleeping? How is it for you when the lights are all off? Do you sleep with a nightlight or a lamp? Do you have to have the TV on? These are all ways that you can enter into that conversation with that person. And when you enter into that way, you have now entered into the wounded place. And when you get into the wounded place that way, God gives you strategy. And now the gospel becomes easier for them to digest because you have addressed the pain and the wound versus addressing the addiction, which is the comfort place for them. Okay. And so when we address the pain point, we will begin to see a greater response. And this is how we allow God into our lives to help people navigate these spaces where they have been troubled or where they have been broken. So the question is, why isn't the gospel setting people free? And the answer is that we as the body of Christ have to be accountable for how we are administering it, how we are living our lives. Are we doing what we say and saying what we do? Or are we just going to people and telling them that, listen, when you come before God, don't look this way? Not recognizing that this look is all they know. Now you want to take from me all I know? When you try to shift somebody that way, you create anxiousness, you create stress, you create uncertainty, you create doubt. You give them everything that is absent of God. You take away every form of peace. And so the narrative that you're painting for them is, well, I can be free, but I can't be me because that is who they are right now. And so we have to be better with addressing wounds. We have to be better with how we're addressing trauma. And we have to know that people need this. This is what is needed right now. This is what we have to do right now. And there's a space for all of us to do it if we work together. So I want to thank you for joining me tonight on this episode of The Core, where we were getting to the root of it, the foundational piece of trauma, which is the wound. Today, we want to talk about the gospel and it's setting people free. I pray that this has helped you. I hope that you are able to take something away from it. If you came on in the middle of it, please go back and watch it in its entirety so that there's no miscommunication or no misrepresentation. Be sure to share this out, comment, engage with me. Let me know if you have any questions or anything that you want me to clear up. I'll be more than happy to. And if you have questions that you would like me to address as I come on and deal with the core, all you have to do is message me or comment them, and I'll be sure to do an episode specifically to address that issue because there is so much that we have to unpack and talk about. I want to thank you for joining me tonight. If you are here, be sure to click the link in my bio and check out the ebook Agape, the mending of a broken heart, where we address pain, we address wounds, and we address grief. It is a really great resource for you to enter into this place of healing. And so if you have not had a chance to check it out, share it with someone you know, and I will see you all tomorrow.